Okay, we are
I
recording.
don't give you permission to record.
Oh my God, let me stop it then.
That's
Uh,
hilarious.
yeah. Well, that's a good laugh, and it's a good way to start this new podcast by it's a long time I don't make a podcast, and I'm very happy to have here Ian Macleod.
Mm.
Is it Macleod or Macleod? Which kind of pronunciation should we adopt?
Well, you can call me anything you want as long as it's not late for dinner.
Okay, and let's go
Yeah,
on.
it's
So,
actually MacLeod.
Macleod, okay.
Yeah, it comes from the Scottish,
The classic Scottish pronunciation.
correct. And it's MAC, not the MCCLEOD. We are the clan of King Leod. And we originate from the Isle of Skye. There's a nice castle in, I think it's Dunhagen, um, for the MacLeod Castle. And funny enough, the actual guy that is in that castle and is, I don't know, the king or the head of the MacLeod clan, or however you want to call it, his name is John MacLeod,
Like your dad.
like my dad.
Good.
But my story is how we changed our name to MAC was, as you know, the Scottish are they often get into arguments and feuds.
Mhm.
And in the early 1900s, my dad's dad had a fight with his dad. So my grandpa and my great grandpa had a fight. So my grandpa got on a ship in Durban and shoveled coal all the way to Italy, hiked across Europe and to the Scottish embassy and changed his name from MCCLEOD to MACLEOD.
It's good you know these stories. I mean,
Nah.
not
Well,
many
that's the
people
story.
interview.
That's the story I've been told by my dad, and
Yeah, yeah.
so it's the story that I stick to.
We should all, everybody should like, know the history of his family. Not
Yeah,
everybody is so curious anyway.
yeah. But the
I
sad
tried.
part is
I had,
I've never been to Scotland, and I'd love to go
well, I think you should. One day. We will
one
see.
day.
Send postcards. So
Yeah.
I invited you to this podcast here, to this
Mm.
interview, because I wanted to talk with you about safety. Okay, safety is a
Hmm.
great word for this appointment, and applied to Waveski and the knowledge you have about this sport. I mean, I think you've seen it all, right?
Mm,
You've
mm.
seen it. You've seen it start and develop through how many years now? 40, 50 years?
So for me, I started wave ski surfing in 1984, my first wave ski. But obviously, when my dad started wave skis in '79, I was always around the manufacturing because it started in his garage at home, making of the boards and then the molds, and then getting into his factory. And so I grew up with this, and but physically being inside the factory, I would say I started at the age of 13 working for my dad. Cleaning boards, putting stickers on boards, and things like that. And then, from 13 till 18, did my military service, and then after military service, with how my brain operates, I wanted to get into my dad's business because of the engineering and the thinking outside of the box and creating problem solving and creating things. So that's how I got into the business. So for 35 years, I've been basically working and shaping boards. And for 42 years, I've been actually riding the boards, and I've been around. The company's been going since '79, so that makes it like 47 years old.
And so, how was safety considered in the beginning? Was it even just part of it or not? Like,
No, I
scared.
mean safety wasn't considered as a huge thing. It was more along the lines of we got those seat belts from the Volkswagen lap strap from the '70s, the Bug, and it was all aluminum or aluminium, depends on what country you're from. And I cannot 100% remember, and I can actually find out if my dad had the molds made or when he bought a company called Zircon, Zircon. They were making boards in the early 80s in South Africa, and they were struggling. And my dad, Maxkey, bought them out for two technologies, if I remember correctly. One technology actually three technologies. One technology was the ability to foam fill the boards.
Mm-hmm.
In those days, we called it the bucket and chuck it system. So what we did was we would make and manufacture the boards, and then we would have
In
a
plastic.
bucket, and we would put the polyurethane part A, part B together, mix it, and then
Okay.
have 10 seconds to mix, 30 seconds to throw, and a minute to close. And so we would be able to get the air out of the boards, and without, well, in the beginning we blew up a couple of molds, I remember. There used to be foam on the ceiling in my dad's factory, and it was a nightmare. The second one was, I believe, the fin boxes, those aluminum fit boxes, aluminium fit boxes that Maxkey had proprietary to them. Those were, I believe, Zircon's, what we got and inherited when we purchased that business. And the last one, I believe, was the belts, the buckles.
And the buckles, how we're talking about the same system used today?
Same system used today.
So
Now, I
that
made a
is,
big mistake. I made a big mistake. When I took over from my dad, I thought I was clever. I always wondered why the buckles were so cheaply looking, feeling, and there were other materials on the market. And I went and said, no, man, I went to the manufacturer and I said, listen, these buckles, they feel cheap, they look cheap, they've got a shine to them. Can we make them a matte finish and make them feel more quality, feel more
yeah.
quality? And so I went and I introduced fiber-filled nylon, because these buckles are
Uh-huh.
nylon. And so I introduced fiber-filled nylon, and they came out. They looked amazing. They felt amazing, but they broke because they had no absorption of energy
Exactly.
on impact.
Too
And
stiff.
so they were breaking at two given points in the center of the female buckle, and on the male buckle they would be breaking on the tips, on the
Yeah.
locating tips.
Yeah, where
And
the
so
rotation
it was
happens.
lesson learned, and that's exactly where I understood why carbon fiber has no stretch and breaks so much easier. It's because there's no give.
Yeah.
So we went back to the old system of straight nylon, and then had to go bow before my dad and say, "Yeah, I tried this, it didn't work." And it's like, why try and reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, but in the meantime, you waste money, right?
Exactly,
And you
exactly.
try to keep your reputation high while these systems fail, which is
Yeah,
not
no,
easy. Yeah.
reputation is important. I've taken over from my dad's legacy. So for me, it's not only my reputation, it's a family reputation, because my dad was known in the 80s as never compromising quality for quantity and or price.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, and so why do you think after 40 years
Mm.
is this still this system is the only one we can see around? I mean, some people use like submarine buckles used for, for diving, for example,
Diving.
which is
Well, I
metal.
know in Australia they had their systems in the quad belt systems, and they had this
Mhm.
funny thing that would link in and have these little teeth, but those would fail. Those teeth would fail. They wouldn't have much grip. So for us at Maxkey, we were not interested in really fixing something that had no problems. The safety factor on these buckles in the early days was very, very, very good. The amount of incidences was less than 1%. So why are we trying to redevelop something that actually works? So that's why for Maxkey, something has never worked, or that has always worked, has never required our ingenuity to actually increase or better what we had, because we felt we had the best. As technology has gone on, we've only concentrated on materials like fiberglass epoxies, different types of brands of fiberglass. We increased, and we worked very closely with the styrofoam people to get good fusion for shaping purposes. Those are the type of things that we did as a company. But on the buckle side, nothing, but we did increase the strength of the belts, the adjustability of the belts, the rigidity of the foot straps, those type of things we did, but we never thought that the buckle was ever a problem until the freaking mag belt came out and said, look at this technology. We're using magnets to hold everything together, and it's much safer, which, I mean, there's an option for these things. Old school people will be happy with what they've got. But new school people in the adaptive world, they feel more comfortable that they aren't actually strapped in and buckled in a mechanical way, whereas they feel it's a safer option to be buckled in with magnets that they know that can come loose if they pull on them.
Yeah, for those
For
who
me, it's
doesn't
for me,
know,
it's a,
who don't
it,
know,
yeah.
this is the
Oh,
sorry. I will
Alessandro,
take
hold that
off
in
the
front of your face so that it's not blurred.
yeah, well, I'll take off the blur. Who cares? Welcome in
Yeah.
my world. So this is the mag belt, okay? I
Yes.
invented this
Yes.
system. This is an old prototype, okay? Now the model is a bit different, but I don't have a new one with me. But anyway, this is it. This is the
Mm.
bottom platform, and this is the top one, and you have some teeth, and you can see here, this is some sand got into the
Good
plastic.
old, good old evidence of testing.
Yeah, and then, the idea is to have them locked together and they don't slide anymore, but it's still very easy to open even with one finger or two. And well, this necessity I felt of having it easy
Hmm.
because not for me. I mean, I could cope with the belt and so
Well,
on.
I
I
would,
come
I would,
from
I would use the word easier
easier.
because
Yes.
I believe the system that we had was easy, but there is now a system that is easier.
Indeed, indeed. But my goal is to bring more people into the sport.
Mm,
And
mm,
of course, I have my personal mission, which is to promote and sponsor adaptive surfing. And I imagine
mm.
people may have also different abilities, even in their
Wow,
hands
you and
and
I have a
grip.
very similar passion.
Yeah, I know, and that's
Just
why
kidding. Just
I really
kidding.
appreciate your project. I mean, and I know you now started a new project, which is very important, Waveski Surfing United.
Yes,
Is it correct?
that is
WSU.
correct.
Please check it out because it's making marvels, especially applying technology, but at the service of humans. It's
Mm,
not only
mm,
making cool things just or having cool stuff.
mm,
It's
mm,
practical. It's also experimented, and you
mm.
also see Ian using it. So he's touring the USA, especially the East Coast, just to show it and explain how to use it. And how is that board called? The board you
Oh, the
designed?
adaptive surf trainer.
Yes, the adaptive surf trainer, which is also
Mm,
comfortable for the surf instructor, for the
mm,
adaptive
mm,
surfing
mm.
instructor. And so we
Yeah.
can we can have a closer contact with the person while we surf together, you know. And safety is the great thing we should all push into wave ski surfing because it's an unknown sport. What I noticed is really that, people care a lot about design, they know everything about the wave skis, but there is not enough knowledge about fins, about, I don't know, the buckles, the belts, even paddles. People don't know much about paddles. And
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry,
wondering
I'm moving
why.
my camera
Yeah,
around.
it's okay. And I'm wondering myself why. You love this
Hmm,
sport, you practice it since 40 years, and then you end up not having knowledge about the rest of the equipment, which is quite
hmm.
strange. Is this maybe motivated by surfing, by stand surfing? We just care about the boards and leashes and stuff?
No. Um, we look at how, as I said right in the beginning, for Maxki, and I'm only speaking on behalf of Ian Macleod, Maxki,
Yeah.
and there are obviously other opinions out there. I'm not going to say I have the only opinion and it's the right opinion. If you look at the quad belt from Australia, I hated that quad belt because it went over my legs, and the legs when you would hit an air and upside down flick air. And you would be coming down, and you want to get yourself balanced, but you don't want to get yourself balanced with your upper body, and you're
Mhm.
pulling your legs one side so that you're balancing yourself for landing. I personally found that that would pull me off balance because it's pulling too much on my rail. Whereas the control over the hips for me was more important. Now, having said that, remember, I grew up with only that belt, and then I went to change something different, tried that belt, and for me, it didn't work. So I went back to what I knew. Whereas the Australian guys, they wanted to have more rail lift. So they used that for their turns and everything, and it worked.
Yeah, of course.
So
Different needs, different solutions, of course.
correct. And the other belts, I mean, I know that the world's best surfer, in my opinion, is Reese Duncan. And he was always a quad belt fan, and he went from quad belt to lap belt. And he rides with a belt across his hips now and not across his legs. And so for me, that was progression, just saying. But it still didn't. I mean, Reese has always been great at what he's done, but he's moved on, and I don't know his reasons behind it. But all I do is I see it. For Maxkey,
I will ask him. I will ask him.
yeah, we only consider where can we improve, and we've never thought in our heads. The safety factor, there's never been, there hasn't been as many accidents or drownings because of belt. There might be a drowning because of a health condition, a heart attack or something like that. But the amount of drownings because belt failures has been minuscule. And also they have the ones that have failed, close drownings, they came out and said, I must admit that I didn't do something right, and my belt twisted and the buckle was face down.
Yeah, I've heard something like this. I've heard
There
about
was one occasion in South Africa that happened.
it.
The other one that I'm going to show you now, and this is why I've got this. Just give me a second
Yeah.
to set this up. I've got my tripod here, and I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to a buckle and zoom in. So give me a second to get some technology going here, and I hope I don't leave this group. How do I change this damn camera? Give me a second. Stop video. There we go. This is your system here. Okay, so
good.
I've got the belt and the buckle here. I'm going to zoom in on it as much as what I can. So the system that we've always had has been the traditional buckle that you know about.
Yeah.
Can you see that, Alessandro?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So the buckle goes in and they face away, and it's a very easy, comfortable fit. You see?
Yes.
Very easy, very comfortable fit. The male part faces away from the webbing on the female part. Okay? And it slips out. Hardly any touch. Now, watch this. If I had to turn this buckle around, instead of putting it in like that, and I had to turn the buckle around, so if someone happened to lose this buckle and replace it by himself and not know, this system actually fits. But now if I put a little bit of pressure on it, it's not easy to unloosen, especially when there's a body under it.
So there could be a problem because of a mistake, for example.
Correct. Or ignorance.
Yeah.
And so that is the one flaw of these buckles that people, if they buy a new buckle because their one broke and they had to put a new one on, they put it on incorrectly and it doesn't work as what it was designed to do. That's the flaw on it. So at Maxkey, I mean, this is my system. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get you as level as possible here.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is my system that I use. And the reason why I do this, and I'm going to try something that I haven't tried before.
And for example, you like it more on the side, right?
Well, I'll tell you the reasons behind that. So I'm going to get on this board before I break it. Let me just move this twist to that. Right. So I'm going to get on this board in this position that I'm sitting. Can you see me?
Yep.
Okay, so how I do it is I buckle up. I can pull this as high as I want. I've got a lot of easy to buckle up, and then I pull it down. So now I'm paddling out, and I'm tightening to my board enough to paddle out into duck dive waves. But I'm not tight enough to execute my maneuvers because my theory is the tighter the buckle, the more direct control I have over the board rails fins. So as soon as I'm paddling now. And as soon as I want to get into a wave, I let go of the paddle, pull it down with immense leverage. Now all of a sudden, I'm so much tighter in the board, almost to the point where I'm getting no blood to my toes. Okay. And so
Okay.
I've pulled it down and I'm tight into the sport, but you cannot surf a long period of time like that. So for me, I pull it down, I'm tight in the board, it's extremely tight over here. But as soon as I'm ready to paddle back out again, I just do that, and I'm back at a position where I'm now comfortable to paddle, but I'm tight in the board.
Yeah. So you control the tightness
Yes.
depending during the session. You change it during the session.
Every wave I catch, I tighten the belt up.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know this.
Every wave when I'm finished, I drop my legs off the board and I
Yeah.
rest a bit, or I just loosen it like that
What
and
I
get
do
to a
is
point
normally
where I'm happy.
I'm look, I'm not at your level, okay? We're talking about high top level surfing, but in my case, which I'm an average surfer, I adjust my belt before my session with my legs down. And then I
Yes,
know when I will lift up my legs, it will be tighter. So this is the
yes,
way I adjust the belt for myself.
yes. And that's the way that I want everybody to do it because it's the easiest way. And to be honest with you, if you don't know my system, the people that I teach and I explain to, they go over to my system. A lot of the times, because the buckle's on the side of your hips, sometimes you can unbuckle yourself on a wave by just tapping the buckle
By mistake.
by mistake.
Imagine that. You fly, but your feet stay in the foot straps and you break an
Dude,
ankle.
I don't have to imagine it.
Yeah,
I've been there, done that.
I I suppose that. Anyway,
Yeah.
so the thing is,
Uh,
um, what do you think is possible to improve in terms um, of safety in our sports? It's not only the buckle, I think.
mm,
I think it's about culture, like we lack into transmitting experience and teaching, and there are not enough schools in the world. Maybe in France there are a few, very good ones, but for the rest, what I see is not the community is, I don't know,
yeah.
teaching
So let
itself,
me let, let
teaching
me
the
let me
sport
ask you
and
a
some
question.
principles. Yeah.
My question is, when you're asking me about safety, are you asking me about safety as keeping yourself alive? Or are you asking me about safety as in, injury, um, knowledge of ocean
Okay.
safety, all of that? There's a whole safety's got like a whole broad spectrum.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Well, my idea of safety is the minimum things you need to know in order not to hurt yourself. Then you can get very hurt or slightly hurt. But the thing
Yeah.
is, what if you get hurt in a very stupid way and you end up not liking the sport anymore? You don't surf anymore, or you have a kind of
Okay.
new
So let's
fear
so,
that
so
you
let's let's
doesn't allow you
let's
to progress.
let's put that into a practical terms
Yeah,
that statement that you made. So in other words, some guys bought a Waveski as a used Waveski, not from any professionals,
for example.
and they have a fear of buckling up because they see the buckle, so they don't put the buckle on, but they put their feet into the foot straps and they go paddle out, and then as they catch a wave, their bum slips off the board and their feet get stuck in the foot straps, twisting and breaking their ankles, which happens. So those are the things that we try and do. But the problem with the sport and the safety of the sport is the amount of money that's in the sport that limits us as manufacturers to get involved, to sponsor, to go to events, to uplift the community, to grow the sport, to explain all of the parameters of safeties, not only with buckling up, having different systems like the thigh straps versus the lap belt. There's a whole bunch of different things, but also your body and your fitness. You can't just be a guy that goes out without looking after your body and you suddenly break your back, or you tear muscles because of ignorance to the sport, and then you blame the sport for something that is unfairly blamed upon. So as I'm saying this out loud, I'm thinking it's a money thing. And if we had more money injected into our sport, if Red Bull or Monster or some big sponsor came in and saw this adventure, sit down surfing, Waveski surfing sport as something great and big, then all of a sudden we'll have money injected. I will be able to release and go out. You'll get people like Virgil and Reese and Pablo that could go do worldwide tours, and we could go demonstrate, and we could get videos out there, and we could get millions of views to a sport that really deserves it at the moment. Because
Yeah,
at the
indeed.
moment, it's all about money. We as manufacturers, and there's probably in the whole world 20 to 25 manufacturers
Hmm.
out of the whole world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, less than 10 big manufacturers.
Yeah.
And then those 10 big manufacturers really think and supply local for them.
Well, we are trying with means like this, connecting
Yes.
online and making interviews, having our Facebook group, Waveski World, examples of how to share informations and knowledge and put questions, and many people create a thread with answers and ideas. But well, it's something that we should try to do as a community. But you're right, we need an injection, a big injection of money to make
Yeah.
this not an industry, but to
Well,
step
here's
up
what
at
I'm doing.
least and reach out to
Um,
people.
my my non-profit organization, Waveski Surfing United, has a 501c3 status where it's a sport growing status. In other words, we've been given a 501c3 status to grow the sport of wave skiing. Our business plan is to grow the sport of wave skiing in adaptive sport first. Second
Yeah,
will be into the youth. And then third will be into people that have aged out of surfing through whatever ways, means, or forms, if it's medical or whatever it is, health,
I
fitness,
completely
whatever
share
it
this
is.
belief. Yes,
Hmm?
this is exactly the target because
Yes,
I,
that's
I,
the
I
target.
share this
So
belief.
if you just want a very quick, brief understanding of what I'm doing, I've given myself 5 years to dedicate 5 years to adaptive sports to introduce them to wave ski surfing, because I believe that demographic is the one demographic that most needs it, number one, right now. And number two is the one that is going to be most uplifting for our sport. Okay.
Indeed.
So second demographic that I want to attack or go after would be the youth, and that would be going to schools and to universities. But with that, a huge injection of cash would be needed from a big sponsor like Red Bull, or even Coca-Cola, one of those big companies, where we would be able to go put money into engineering a entry level board, pop out entry level board, and I have already got all the ideas of how, where, and what um, to get this done. And then we go and donate these boards to the schools, and then I will have, by that time, I would have a whole curriculum of how to wave ski. And then the how to wave ski is first of all going to be there to train the trainers. So the coaches at the schools, and so there's going to be safety factors, there's going to be, board factors and engineering factors. And then once that happens, every state in America, I want to see having a club like South Carolina, North Carolina. They would have clubs that at club level will get the excitement. From club level, we're going to go into introducing them to the East Coast Wave Ski Association, and from East Coast Wave Ski Association, we're going to be introducing them to American Canoe Association, so that we can grow it from grassroots, because no one has really dedicated time, energy, and effort to grow it from grassroots. The last time that I saw a real generation of young people get through, besides the Reese Duncans, Ian Macleod, 80s age, where in 1989 we were 17 and 16 years old, or 16. We were 16 when in 1989, and that generation came through all the way through to around about the early 2000s, 2002, 2003. We got the French guys that really pushed hard into introducing youth into the wave skiing. And you have the Virgils, you have the Pablos, you have the Clements, all of the guys that are now top in the world. But since the early 2000s, there's been no up and coming juniors that has been challenging. Well, not no. Let me just. There have been very few up and coming juniors challenging the Nathan Labars, the Reese Duncans, all the guys that have been in the sport for a long, long time. And I want to change that. I want to start at grassroots. I know this project's going to take 10, 15 years. I'm not silly, but I'm prepared to put the work in. I've done 35 years of engineering of boards and all of that. Now I want to put in the rest of my life. I want to give back to the sport that has given me so much by growing the sport in USA and then spreading it, because I feel USA's dollar is where everything's going to happen.
I share
Is
completely this thought with you, these thoughts with you, and I want to. I have the same dream actually, and I support
I
to
know you and I
continue in
talk.
this.
We
Yeah.
talk
Thank you
continuously
for that.
about this, and
Yeah.
your enthusiasm bouncing off my enthusiasm. I think we've egged each other on since. What has our relationship been going since
Ah,
2017,
2018,
2016?
2018, 17. Yeah.
17, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's almost been a decade of you and me bouncing these ideas off. So
True.
you can see that,
A long time.
what you've done with belts and fins and paddles and sponsoring of people at your own peril, your own money, money that's supposed to be putting food onto your table.
I believe in
People need
karma,
to start
man.
recognizing this.
I believe in
People need to.
karma. Well, we
Yeah.
have few minutes left, and
Okay.
I want to take this time to thank the guy who makes this for me, Sasha Rejek,
Mm-hmm.
Ophium paddles. Okay, they
Mm-hmm.
3D print this, and they gave me the great chance to know more about the materials because we tried different kind of plastics. I have it here. Well, I started here in Lanzarote with a friend of mine, but we used the wrong plastics, and this is too stiff. It broke, and then we switched to different ones. You see,
Mm,
you can see the magnets here, some coins attached to it.
mm,
You can see the magnets here. You see, and the idea was this: let's try to print 3D print it. And then after a few fails, after a few experiments, we found the right plastic. Now, the
mm,
last problem I had was these teeth were too small. Sorry,
mm,
these teeth were too small. And so before it was breaking on this side here, on this loop, now it's breaking here on the teeth. And so we had
mm,
to make the teeth bigger. So it's still a process, but I think we found the right formula. And it was not easy under an engineering point of
mm,
view how to test it, how to find, because maybe you put it on a machine, it tests, and then it holds. And then in practice, during a roll, it can break.
mm,
So it depends on the kind of movement and the mechanical
mm,
movement. So thank you so much to Orpheum Paddles. These guys are amazing. It's a family of four, and they work
mm.
together, and they gave me the chance to learn more about technology, and they make excellent products. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
And thank you, Ian, for your time. Thank you
No,
so
thank
much,
you,
brother.
Alessandro.
And I hope to have other chances to speak with you because it's amazing to learn, and especially
Mm.
your knowledge and your experience is gold, pure gold. Thank you so
I'm,
much.
I'm, I'm prepared to share my knowledge now. So give me, not now, I've been sharing my knowledge for years, but I'm prepared to actually do videos of how to make boards and, mistakes that people make and epoxy systems and so on.
Please, less than a minute. Thank you so much. It was a
Okay.
pleasure to
Thank
meet
you,
you.
Alessandro.
You take care and good
Cheers.
luck.